Hi guys, this section is Introduction to Web Analytics. It's going to be primarily based on Avinash Kushek's book. In fact, the next several sections of what I present is going to be based on his book. So if you haven't had a chance to get it, you'll see a lot of parallels to it. If you are not interested in getting it, don't worry, I'm going to cover all of the important details that you need to know. But obviously he goes into a lot more detail, gives better examples, etc. So the first thing that I want to talk about when we talk about Introduction to Web Analytics are the questions that people ask, the typical questions people ask relating to Web Analytics, especially as a primer. So you're just getting started in this. The first big question is why? Why do I care? You know, people have had websites. I remember the first website I worked on was in 1997, and it was pretty awful. I wish, well, I guess I can't go back with the time machine now, but with Google's time machine, that is. But it doesn't even compare to today's websites, and you know that was only 19 years ago. And so you step back and say, well, what's changed in those 19 years that make analytics so important? And here's the bottom line, guys, and this is important not only in web analytics, but just in marketing and business communication, competitive intelligence, on and on and on. If you don't want to be data driven in today's society, you're not going to succeed. Long gone are the days in terms of advertising that Mad Men, you know, my gut instinct, we sit around and talk about ideas. It's really based on data, and that data can come in many forms. It can come in qualitative forms, interviews. It can come in quantitative forms in terms of a lot of the data that we're going to look at in this term. But at the end of the day, data is data, and data points you, if you know how to look for the data and how to interpret the data, it will point you in the right direction. And so as online continues to grow exponentially, and that's what's really happened over the past 19 years, is this online presence has grown exponentially. When we started the website at my college in 1997, it was a nuance. Nobody had it. It was very, very rare if a business had a website. And, if you would have told me back then that there would be these microsites and social media on top of websites, and these complex websites that have database backends and integration with phones, etc. I would have told you you were nuts. But it continues to grow. And because it continues to grow, and because it's harder for us to get our arms around, we need tools to assist us in doing that. And so when we come down to the why, it really comes down to this data helps us do our jobs better. And think about advertising, right? Advertising via proxy. So when you think of advertising in terms of the number of subscribers rather than the response to the advertising, we don't take out online ads. We don't have to use good faith to measure success. We can measure how many people clicked on it, how many people saw it, how many people interacted with it, how many people went to the website, what was the outcome. Did they go online and customize a car? The measure of success is direct, it's specific, and it's scalable, which is a success measurement. And so, traditionally, like I kind of alluded to in advertising, and I can't remember the exact quote, but it was like half of all advertising doesn't work if only I knew which half. And now, today, I can become much, much more specific in changing my methods and changing how I do business, because I know exactly what's working, when it's working, with whom it's working, and what I can do and pour money into that is working. And so it becomes an efficiency issue and obviously an effectiveness issue. The next issue, or the next question, is what? So what is this? And so, the really basic definition is that web analytics is the analysis of qualitative and quantitative data from your website and the competition. And that's really important. So if you're taking notes, underscore that, and the competition, to drive a continual improvement of the online experience of your customers and prospects, which translates into your desired outcomes, both online and offline. And again, underline that. And here's the deal, guys. And of course, feel free to rewind that if I talk too fast here. But when we talk about analytics, a lot of people see it, excuse me, from their perspective, and they think, okay, so I'm going to go online, I'm going to look at quantitative data from my website, and I'm going to look at the online experience of my customers who are on my website and what my online experience is like. And when people think like that, they're missing so much of what's really available to you. You not only need to think about the quantitative data, but you need to think about the qualitative data. And if you haven't had a statistics class yet, quantitative are the data that come in numbers, things that you can count, if you will. Whereas qualitative data is what we call the softer side of data. This comes in the form of interviews. It allows you to dig deeper into the meaning behind maybe the numbers. And so you need them both, and you can get them both on analytics. And so, without picking up that qualitative side, you're really missing a big piece. If you just focus on your website, you're missing your competition. Wouldn't you love to know? I was an athlete in college, and if I could have learned the plays, the signals. They played softball, right? So if I could learn the other team's signals, that would have given me an advantage. And here's the deal, guys. If you can learn the other team's signals, in terms of competition online, why the heck wouldn't you? So there's competitive data out there. And on the other side, it's not just about online, the online experience. You can overlay what's happening offline with the online information that you're gathering to give you a full picture of what's going on. And so again, it's not just quantitative, it's qualitative. It's not just your website, it's competition. And it's not just the desired outcomes online, it's also about your desired outcomes offline. The next question we often get is it hard? Well, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. But to get started, all you have to do is open the account, which you've already done. Now, this is the part that some of you might get freaked out about, but it's really not that hard. They tell you what the code is. And for those of you who have not had a class in programming or basic computer information in any capacity, whether it be a graphic design web class or an actual computer science class, code is the language that tells your website what to do, what to look like, where to go. And if you're not familiar with that, all you have to do is go. I like Firefox's tool the best for a number of reasons, but which we will not get into. But on any browser, if you go to a website and you right click, you'll see a line there in the menu that's a view source, or some of them actually say view code. And if you click on that, up will pop this really interesting array of information in a language that you probably have not interacted with. And all you have to do is Google gives you, so back to what we were talking about, Google gives you this little piece of code that looks like what you'd see on your screen if you right-clicked and went to the view code of a website. This little piece of code, you go back to your website, you go to the footer, which again, they give you very detailed instructions on how to do this, and you paste the code into the file. And that's it. And if you don't know how to do that, you can very easily go to your IT department and they'll do it for you. If you're interacting with a content management system like WordPress, the ease of being able to do this is very, very high. So it's really not hard to get started. What's hard is the analysis of the data. So it's really easy to get a whole bunch of data. It's really hard to figure out what all this data means. And we're going to spend the next 16 weeks, 15 weeks talking about how we can do that. But really 75% of the data that's available to you can be received just by doing those steps. Opening the account, copying the code, going to the website, going to the footer, and pasting the code. That's it. 75% of the data can be retrieved. And you can look here. This is a sample of analytics. So if you've had a chance, and one of your assignments is to actually go into analytics and play around, if you've had a chance to do that already, you'll see a menu very similar to this. And some of these are just the pullouts from those menus. But you can see acquisition, channels. Where did people come from? How did they come through? What source did they use? Was it, on their phone, or was it on Google? Did they come to you through Google? Search engine optimization, social, that talks, obviously about the social tools. What's going on right now on your website, which is super fun to watch. Intelligence events, these are things that are happening, and you can set triggers to tell you what's going on. Behavior, how are people acting on your website? Conversions, we can actually tell the website, the analytics tool, okay, hey, listen, I want to know, this is what I want people to do. I want them to first go to the website homepage, then I want them to click About Us, then I want them to go, to the president's page, and then I want them to apply, which would be a really odd goal path, but it could happen. And you can tell the system, this is the path I want people to take. And it will tell you how many times you reached that goal. And so super, super cool kinds of things. Or it can be as simple, your goals can be as simple as how many people landed on my Buy Now page. And we'll talk about multi-channel funnels in a little bit. But my point is there's a ton of information just simply by adding the code onto the website. So is it hard? Not really. Is it hard to analyze? Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to analyze. And I might have already talked about this, but the adage is spend 10% of your budget on a tool and 90% of your budget on somebody really who knows data, because it is so hard. It is so hard to be able to take the data and make sense out of it and to drive action from it. Guys, listen, the data, it helps you increase accountability for goals, not just online, but offline. But it also increases the accountability of your business toward their business goals, and it helps lower the risk. It really helps you, what we call failing faster. And that sounds counterintuitive to some of us who've grown up in a culture where failing is not an option. But at the end of the day, in the business world, you're going to fail. You're going to fail in some capacity, hopefully not big, in big ways, but you're going to fail. You're going to try something that's not going to work. The faster you can find out that it doesn't work, the better. Analytics helps you figure out what's not working fast so that you can change it. So, at the end of the day, this is a powerful business driver for your long-term success. So is it worth it? Oh yeah, absolutely. And so kind of the what else, I wanted to kind of put this out, and this is Avanash's, what would you call this, an image, illustration of what's happening. And so you start out here with clickstream, the what's happening on the website, right? Multiple outcomes analysis. Well, how much of it is happening in combining the data? So where are people going? Clickstream is when people hit our site, where are they going within the site? First they went to, what did I say, the About Us, the home page, then the About Us, and the President's page. That's clickstream. That's what's going on. How much? Well, what were they doing? How long were they staying? Did it result in anything for us? Then we get into experimentation and testing. This is where we say, what happens if we changed the home page or our landing page just for the people in Erie, Pennsylvania versus the people in Syracuse, New York? Or what happens if we change the page for females versus males? We experimented when I was running marketing at Mercyhurst. We had a different web system. And if you went onto the website and clicked on biology, then the next time you came back to the home page, there were several areas, or actually to any part of the website, there were several areas that all you would see is biology. And the reason for that, there's a little bit of psychology, right? Because we wanted to test to see if their application rate would increase if we just showed them information that they were interested in. You also have the voice of the customer. And so in this, it's not just about the data. Remember, this is the quantitative side and a little bit of qualitative as well. But then down here, you actually can ask customers, and they'll tell you in the way that they're interacting with information as well. The what else, I mentioned this before, ties into competitive intelligence, going out and finding out what our competitors are doing and how we fare against our competitors. Guys, all of this together results in insights. And this is what we're trying to shoot for. All the rest of this is just data noise. This is what we're trying to get to, right? This is where we make differences in what we do in the business. So in the end, answering the how much leaves us short. This is like I said, the multi-channel impact. It's not just one channel, it's all these channels. Loyal customers, did they do other non-online commerce website? Did they apply for a job? It's not just about did they buy the product. The why leaves us short because, why is our bounce rate 50%? Well, so, that we don't have an answer to that. Why did somebody abandon their cart? Why do most people who come through the website not take action? This is about asking the customers and getting their data. And that's why we like testing, because we can create these wonderful experiences and test, and the customer will tell us what they vote by where they go and how they interact with the website. Really, the why, I think, is the most critical piece of this whole thing, because you get that qualitative analysis of data in addition to actual quantitative data, the numbers that you're going to see. So when we look at this, the other thing, so like I said, the insights are the biggest piece here. But one of the things that you might be feeling right now is a little overwhelmed. This is a lot. I don't even know how to do any of this. Talk to me about what happens if I have a business. How do I decide what I'm going to do first, right? Some of you are graduating this year, and you're going to go out into the world, and they're going to say, okay, hey, you have this analytics background, do stuff. And where do you start? What do you do first? What should I do at all? And so Avinash kind of gives us this chart and walks us through if you have a small, medium, or a large business and what you should be doing. And so you have the small business who should start with clickstream. So where are people clicking? Where are they going? That should be number one. Then going to the multiple outcomes. Where are people going not only online but offline? And then try experimentation and testing so the customer has a voice in what they're doing. And you can see, though, that there's differences in the medium and huge businesses and what we're going to do. So one of the things people don't realize is that with web analytics, you have to have this concept of multiplicity. And multiplicity basically means that you have to be comfortable with multiple tools. Google Analytics is one that we're going to focus on heavily. It is a very robust tool. It's also free, which is one of the reasons why we're really using it. But gosh, there are so many different tools for each of these areas. In Clickstream, you have Omniture and Google Analytics and Unica and WebTrends and Yahoo and Ziti and Coremetrics and ClickTracks. And I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting. In multiple outcomes, you have a number of web analytics vendors, even like Adobe, but plus iPerceptions and FeedBurner. In experimentation and testing, you have Google Website Optimizer and Optimist, and just general test and targeting. Voice of the customer, you have 4Q and iPerceptions and CRM metrics. 4C, self-service, you could do like market research and usability testing. Competitive intelligence, you can use Google Ad Planner and Google Trends, which we'll talk a little bit about this term. And then if you're taking web strategies next term in the spring, we'll talk more about it. But compete and Hitwise and panels and on and on and on. So my point is you can't expect that Google Analytics is going to do everything for you. It's not the be-all, end-all. But if you are just starting out and they have nothing, they have no other data, Google Analytics is free. So it's always a good first go-to in those kinds of situations.